Welcome back to my tutorial. In this episode I'm going to talk about my drum programming and also take a quick look at how I create my bass track with the trilogy. You might recall that in the beginning I loaded up Superior Drummer with all stereo outputs. So the first thing to do is check the mixer and make sure the outputs are set to multi-channel. The reason I do this is because that way I get more flexibility when it comes to editing the individual drum instruments. You can use up to 16 stereo outputs, but for me 7 is fairly enough. Then I open up the MIDI editor on my Superior track and start placing the notes. Now, with this style of music, the kick drum is usually syncopated, if that's the correct term, with a rhythm guitar, so I start by placing the kick drum samples. And while placing the notes, I always listen back to make sure that they are on the spot. And since drum programming can get very tedious and time-consuming, I'm gonna spare some time by fast forwarding to the next part. But anyway, the principle stays pretty much the same throughout the whole process. As a side note, I'd like to tell that I increased the master velocity value on my Superior MIDI track to about 30 to get more punch for the drum hits. Oh, and copy-paste is always your friend. I would also like to say something about editing the velocity values of the notes. For example, in this part I'm doing these so-called ghost notes for the snare drum, and what I do is I simply place a snare note on the editor and then right-click to open up Properties, edit the velocity value and hit OK. Then I use the PRV draw tool to duplicate these notes, not the brush tool, the draw tool. And as always, I audition the drum track, and if the velocity value isn't the right one, I edit and draw again, and etc. etc. After laying down some drum patterns, it's time to do a bass track. And for this one I'm going to keep it really simple, that is, the bass guitar notes follow strictly the kick drum notes, which is not really that imaginative, but it'll do. There's one thing that makes the programming of the bass track a little bit easier, and that is opening both drum and bass MIDI track in the MIDI editor, and then selecting the kick drum notes and copying them over to the bass track. Then it's simply changing the pitch of the notes and stretching them if necessary. And we're done programming the bass track. The next thing I want to do is to get my mix sound a little better, but I'm going to save it for the next episode, so hopefully you enjoyed this one, and till then, goodbye.